Oh, we did it at Dixie. There you go. So there's lots of ways we can do learning, but since we're all ages tonight, we're going to jump right in, and then we can talk about how we could use it for learning at the end of tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining us from all over. Okay, so like we said, for those just joining us, tonight we're going to focus on Stop Motion Studio. It's a free app, and there's one cool trick I want to show for the folks that have been coding already, animating already. And then there's also StopMo, which is only available on iPads. So we're going to reference it just because they have built-in sound effects and titles. So if you have an iPad, it's a great option to get now before that free option is not available. And hopefully everybody has some items. So you need a couple items to bring to life, whether that's toys or loose parts. I grabbed the salt and pepper shaker from my cupboard. We're going to start with the very basics, and then we're going to come, sorry, I have them out of order. We're going to start with the basics just to make sure we get that movement going, and then I'm going to show you kind of that storytelling and some of the tricks we can do to try to enhance that storytelling. And if we get time at the end, usually we go really fast and we have lots of great questions. I'm going to talk about taking it out, exporting it, and then we're going to look at the sound piece, because sound really enhances any story. So 2 rules to remember tonight. The first rule is to remember to keep your device still. So we're really tricking our device or tricking the viewer into thinking that objects are moving that aren't. So to do that, we need our camera to be really still. If it moves, then it's going to distract people. So if you have a stand, that's awesome. If not, grab a basket, grab a family member. Sometimes we even use egg cartons to make them stay put, book stands, anything like that, because your camera, you want it to stay still. The second rule is we want to move our characters a little bit. So if I move them too much, it's not going to look like they're actually moving. And if I move them too little, it's okay because I can speed it up. So today we're going to really focus on making those small movements. So let's get started. Let me just switch over so you can see my iPad here. All right, so I'm on Stop Motion Studio. Let me go back out. So I've opened the app, Stop Motion Studio there, and I'm going to hit the plus sign. Same thing if you're in NFB StopMo, the plus sign's there on the bottom corner. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to create our new film. So with that plus sign, we're going to open it up. And I'm going to look for the record button. So both apps, all stop motion apps, have a way to kind of snap the picture. So I have my red circle here that I'm going to need to use as I take pictures. If you're on your phone, the camera is going to be hiding up in the top corner. So you're going to have to hit the camera before you see your red button. Okay, so I have my unicorn here. Okay, I have my unicorn. I just want my unicorn to come across. I have to try to set it up. It's always, okay, there we go. So she starts there. I don't want her on screen yet, so I'm gonna move her out of the way. And then I'm gonna snap a picture by tapping the red. And do you see how it shows up on the bottom of my timeline? So at the bottom of my screen, I can see that I have that picture. So I'm gonna move her a little bit more, just till I see her in the frame. There we go, and snap. And I'm gonna move her a little bit more, and snap. There we go, move her a little bit more. To try to, there we go. And snap. I'm going to take that off so you can see it. You need lots of patience, and I always forget to take my hands out, so I have to remind myself to get my hands out. Now I'm going in a straight line, but I don't have to go in a straight line. So I could be turning my unicorn. We could have her dance. We can also bring items so that it looks like they magically appear. So maybe in front of her, a rainbow appears. I think it should lead to her. So we'll put that first one so she can see it. One, and these aren't in order. So I apologize. Animation is all about patience. And it's great to have a buddy. So a sibling or mom and dad to kind of help out as well. So if you have your stop motion app open, let's see if you can make your character move. And just because you probably want to see my movie already and probably want to see your movie, right below the red dot, I'm going to see that triangle for play. So I can play it back and see my video so far. All right, how's it going? When you've gotten your character or your object to move, just give us a little yes in the box and we can tell you the next step. So like we said, you can animate anything. I love that idea of Macbeth explained in stop motion. That would take a lot of work. One of my favorite animations is a bookstore in Toronto called Type. They made the bookstore come to life. So for one night, they took over the whole bookstore and all the books move and all the toys came and the pens came to life. It's really, really cool. All right, we got folks. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to show you a little bit more. So I now want type books, and I'm missing it so much. I've only ever gone to the Queen Street location, if anybody knows Type Books. But I think there's one up north as well. I'll have to check it out. Okay, so I have my objects now. Just to show you one little trick as we get started, is I want to eat them up. So to eat them up, I just realized one thing I need to do, and this is always the mistake I make, I wonder if anybody else has made it before, is sometimes I forget to go back to the camera. Because if not, my pictures will end up in the middle of my scene. So I'm going to go back to the camera, and I'm going to have her eat them up. So I'm going to just snap a picture. I'm going to have her go closer. I'm going to take it away. Snap. Snap. Now, if by accident you get your hand in there, no worries. You can tap right on the picture and hit delete. Now, traditional animation, the animators that do it for their job, it's usually 24 frames per second. That means 24 images every second. Now, I've never done an animation that's 24 frames per second. I'm not that good. But that tells you how many pictures you need when you watch some of your animated videos or when you see those really cool Lego animations. So if I'm playing my video back, I'm looking at this. This is okay. I can maybe speed it up a little bit. I can actually do that in my video clips. So if you're using Stop-Mo, just look on the settings on the side. In Stop Motion Studio, I'm going to look for the gear. The gear always hides different settings. So in the gear, I have my frames per second rate. Now, if I make that number smaller, that means there's less pictures in a second. Predict yet. Will it be slower or faster? Let's check it out. So the smaller the number, the slower the clip. You can kind of see that this is a bit too slow. It doesn't look like he's really moving. She's really moving. They're really moving. So I'm going to speed it up just a little bit. Let's go to 8 frames per second. And I like that speed. What speed worked well for your animation? Mary Jo, I'm glad you finally made a stop motion video. I can't believe I've never gotten you to make one before. So leave a comment in the comment box. Lego characters are perfect for animating because they have movable parts. I had my Yoda guy here that I used in the video. So I can raise their hands and I can bring that, I can turn their heads. Sometimes you even have those cool Lego heads that have 2 different faces on them. But you can animate anything. Some of my favorite animations and something that I want to try are people that have done some watercolors and then they bring the pieces of their watercolor to life, or they make paper art and they bring it to life with animation. 3 frames per second to add units. Getting that math in there. Who knew we would be doing math on a Wednesday night? Okay, again, if you're all good, let us know in the box. Just drop a little yes. So the plus button, the speed button, yeah, is right in that gear, and it's the first speed. The other options you see, this is a fade. I haven't used it as much because I usually just use animation to do that. And some of the other ones are a bit crushing because it's the paid version of the app. But that's where if you have an iPad, StopMo will give you those for free. This one's kind of cool because I can rearrange the settings. So, and to be honest, I just found it today. I've only used Stop Motion Studio for 10 years. Not 10 years, probably 7. And I never knew they had a shape option. So I always edit it later. So this would be handy if I know I'm going to put it on social media. I can change my setting, or maybe my scene doesn't really work out. So I want to change what that frame looks like, what the frame for my video is going to be. Most of the other options, unfortunately, do have a cost attached to it. But yeah, you can, in StopMo, any of the lucky folks in StopMo, you have those on, again, it's free till June. So you have those options there of bringing in titles and filters. But we know people are on different devices, so we thought we'd use stop motion today. Okay, cool, everybody's ready. So this was just the warm up. I actually planned out my story. So yes, so just coming back to the question, sorry, again, if you use the comment tool up in the top right-hand corner, just sign in with your Google account. If you're a student, just make sure family's around, and you can leave a comment and tell us different questions. So for Michelle's question, you can definitely save them. They just save as a video. Sometimes you can save them as a GIF as well, and then you can easily share them. So when we did it with our family night at McBride in the fall, we actually used a Flipgrid to save them all. So we could have our own little movie festival. So that was a cool way of doing it. I've tweeted them. I posted them on Instagram. A lot of videos on TikTok actually use the principles of animation. That idea of having a picture, moving something slightly, and then having another picture. Yeah. So yeah, they save to your photos on your camera roll. So then you can message them to your, if you wanted to do a message for Mother's Day and want to send it to your mom, they can go onto your photos, and then you can email them or you can message them. And because they're so short, because a lot of pictures, the video's a short video, they're easy to share. Yeah, Michelle, we're going to show you how to share at the end of tonight for sure. Okay. Now, usually when I do a video, sorry, I have like 3 devices going. Can't figure it out. Okay. So usually when I make a story, and tonight we're just learning, so we don't maybe have as much time to do this, but I just wanted to show my friends that usually I plan out my story. So when I do things like advertisements, I usually just make a list quickly in my head or write it down of what the different steps are. But also, sometimes we storyboard it. So this is a very bad sketch. I'm not a great artist. And it's just really planning out my story. So I have my home, my Lego figurines are going to go to the car, and I have them go into the car, and then the car is going to leave, and then I want the car to drive on a map. So yeah, so when you're planning your story or when you're starting your story, the plan is actually the hardest part. Because as you go along, the problem solving comes into play when you want to figure out how to make your story come to life. And hopefully Melanie can help me out and remember some of these questions for when we get to the end. Anne-Marie, no worries. So glad you and Tegan are here. We're getting started again. Just a reminder, as you're going through the gear, if you tap on the gear on the bottom toolbar, there's that speed. You can slow it down by making the number of frames smaller, and that will slow your animation down if the 5 pictures go by too fast. But that's why the smaller the movements, the better. Okay, so I have my story. I'm going to set this back. I'm going to actually go out and start a new clip. I have my storyboard here for me. And I have my new clip. I'm just going to get my scene set up. So I already had my house, and you can use anything. I like using rocks. Maybe we'll use some gemstones. And if you don't have this, you can use paper. We'll put a little pond by the house. How about that? And I have my car. Whoa, my headphones are getting stuck. Okay, so here's the car. And my characters are going to come to the car. Now, if I had more time, I would probably have them coming out of the house. But for tonight, we're going to speed it up. Okay. So we're going to come back to that frames per second. And maybe I can talk through it as we take the pictures here. Again, smaller movements, the better, because I can always speed it up. But if I don't have enough pictures, I can't really slow it down a ton. So I'm going to take my picture. Again, looking at my storyboard, I know they're going to the car. So I'm going to snap the picture. I'm going to move them a little bit. Snap another picture. Move them a little bit. Now they're going to each side of the car. Now, sometimes, just tapping on the screen to focus, sometimes I may knock a guy over by accident. And one of the cool features we have in stop motion is we have something called onion skin. So over here on the left of my screen, and I'm just going to do one because that will just show me the last picture and this picture. I can actually go there so it shows me kind of like a ghost. Like a layer of an onion where my character was the last time. So I can actually line him up and then move him just a little bit. Onion skin is handy too, so you can see where he was the last time. So you can tell if it's a small movement or a large movement. So audio we're going to come back to. But just again, if you haven't seen it, on the left-hand side, that onion skin, and you can turn it off, but I'm going to turn it back on a little bit there so I can see. So now to make it look like they're going into the car, this isn't really proportional here, but we're going to try. So I'm going to get them to bend down a bit, like they're opening the door. Can I get him to lean? Ah, where's that tape when you need it? Sticky tack wasn't a lie. All right, I'm just gonna have to do the hand. Probably wouldn't use that hand to open it. And just like we did with the unicorn eating the pom-poms, we're gonna just take one away and hopefully it will feel like they've both gone into the car. Now, when you want, thanks, Sharon. Now, when you want something to be on the screen for a little bit, so I'm using these letters here, and I'm going to delete that. I didn't have enough room. Oops, I forgot to take the picture. Oh, here we go. Oh, I moved him. There we go. When I want something to be on screen for a minute, when I want to be able to talk maybe later on, or when I want to be able to read the words, you want to take a couple pictures. Because remember, your characters are moving so fast that I won't notice the words. So I'm actually going to take 3 extra frames. And remember, your frames are just those pictures. So right now I have 21 frames, and I took 3 of them that said, let's go. Maybe I'll take 2 more. So anytime I want my characters to pause, or I know later on I'm going to want to talk, I'm going to want to take several pictures so that there's that pause in the video. So now when I watch it back, now mine is a little slow, so I'm definitely going to go into my settings. And remember, we have that frame per second. How many pictures? Oh, I notice it's on 3. Let's speed that up to 7. That's much better. All right. Would a green screen work? Yes, for sure. So because when you animate, it just saves as a video clip, you can then take that video and put it into different apps. Now, if you like Stickbot, the Stickbot app actually has a green screen option built into it. But what I do is I just use, I don't have a green piece of paper handy with me, but just put a green piece of paper in the background or a green screen behind it, animate by your green screen, and then I bring it into Imovie on my iPad or on my phone and put my background in. So it's a great way to get a setting. Now, some friends, like our Flipgrid friends at McBride, when we created as a family, they designed one on paper. So just using cardstock or paper, designing different backgrounds works too. Oh, perfect. If you have the Stickbot, then check out the Stickbot app because it will have a green screen option. Another option, like Melanie said, that's available in both Google and the Apple Play Store, which is awesome. How are your animations coming? Now, if you don't have letters, I know I have Scrabble tiles, we can always just animate a word. So I could always bring in my sticky note. And I can write. And Natasha, we're going to come back to your question. Don't let me forget. All right. So if I snap a picture, I can actually write. So you don't need to have letter tiles if you don't. You can always write if you have a whiteboard, if you have chalk. Oh, I missed out on the O. Sometimes this happens to me, and I have to do a little slight squish over so it looks like it's on purpose. So text to the frame. So for me, the way I add text, if you're using an app like StopMo, the one from the NFB, they have titles built in. So you can go to your extras and you can use your title option. But a lot of times I don't have that option. So I just use Scrabble tiles. So I took the pieces from the Scrabble game or Bananagrams and used those. But what we did with the writing, just to show you, let's see if we can play this back. I'm going to bring that down. So when we go, hopefully, there you go. You can kind of see like it wrote itself out. So just use a sticky note or a piece of paper and write your words out too. So there's lots of options of bringing text in. You can do it the fancy way with the titles, or you can just write it out on a piece of paper. By taking a picture each time we wrote a letter, it looks like it's writing, it's coming to life, I guess you could say. All right, so for those that, the onion skin's a really handy tool, and if we're missing it, it's on the left hand. Oh my goodness, I actually pointed to the right spot today. So it's this little panel here. Now my app updated, so I'm actually able to decide on the top there with the number 1, how many pictures I can see at once. So if I'm a pro animator and I really want to see all those pictures, right now I'm seeing the last 5 pictures. So I don't know if you guys can see that there. Let's see if I go down here. You can it kind of looks like when you do slow motion and they show where the person was before, or when somebody's doing a basketball layup and you're kind of seeing like each stage of the layup. So it kind of shows me where they've been and when they're going. So with 1, I can kind of just see where they were the last time, and then I can decide to move them. Now my characters haven't really moved, so that's why I'm not seeing a ton of difference there. So it's that little handle there. I don't know if you can see that going up and down. The other thing I have that's handy to help me with my animation is I have a grid on the side. So if you see the grid actually helps me balance out my picture, and I can kind of see where each of my objects can fit. I'm glad that Michael, that the bananagrams are handy. I love Scrabble letters and bananagrams for animating. It's so helpful. Okay, taking some of your questions. I missed the calendar idea. So with frames, again, with the free app, it doesn't really let me add frames. I can move them around, but it's really tricky. That's why I try to get into the habit to go back to the end. With StopMo, again, if you have iPad, that one, because it's a paid app that's now free, you can do that. Sometimes what I've done, though, is I'll animate small parts, and then I'll put them together in Imovie. So then I'm not worried about having my setup stay up, because sometimes you create these really cool scenes and it just can't stay up for the whole week. So that way I can work on each scene and then put them together in Imovie and make a longer video. So hopefully we answered the onion skin. I keep forgetting that I'm on the wrong computer there. Hopefully I get to hear the calendar idea again. Definitely great for writing, great for letters, any language, whether it's you're doing English, French, or your home language. So yeah. Diana, I'm not sure what's happening there. So one little trick, always force quit your app if something funky is happening. You can go back out and it will save your story. And then I can go back in and keep working on it to see if that does it. And on the bottom, just make sure your onion skin's not on the very bottom. Make sure it's in the middle or towards the top, because it will show you your last picture. So Monica, I took 3 pictures at the end of the word. So I wrote "let's go," and I took 1 picture at a time because I wanted it to look like they're moving pretty quickly. And then I took 5 pictures, 3 to 5 pictures, to make it seem like it would pause and wait there for a minute. Now, if you wanted it to seem dramatic, I could definitely see taking 3 pictures per letter. So if it is somebody saying no, I want there to be some drama in how the words come up. So that's definitely an option. Everybody can kind of do their own pieces there. It's really, there's no set rules. It's really up to you. Old calendars as background options. That's a great idea. We'll get to adding music. You can definitely wear green gloves if you want to make it look like it's floating. Another tip is if you're lucky enough, I didn't have any, I'm not a fisher. I don't do a lot of fishing. But if you can find fishing wire, You can, nobody will see that when you're animating, so you can hold it up. Another option, if you're doing the green screen piece, is you could use green straws or green a green marker. This one wouldn't work because there's black in it. A green pencil crayon maybe. Green popsicle sticks, anything like that, because then you can hold it too. That's a great idea. Man, I can't wait to see what people come up with. Sometimes the animations look weird the first time and it takes a bit of time to get used to it. We'll talk about adding music in a minute or two. Oh, I'm just trying to see. Definitely show you how to do voiceover. And be cool to collect different calendars, definitely. That's why The Art of Fun, I have his book, but it's over on the counter. His first name's Christian. He's a picture book illustrator and author. And he does, I think his handle is The Art of Fun. And he does a really cool making video every week in his art studio. And he had this, the beginning of his video is actually animated. So some letters are cut out from different magazines. Some of it's written with chalk. Some of the different pieces come to life. But he does a lot of collage art. So it was really cool to see that he took vintage, different ads, different magazines for farming. Any of that kind of looked really cool because they had old pictures in it that you could use for your different settings. The stand is really important because if your device moves, especially if you're doing it with really little friends. The first time I did it with kindergarten, it kind of felt a little psychedelic. So if your device doesn't stay put, it does distract from your animation a bit. Stands like the book stands that you can get at IKEA or at Dollarama, they're fantastic. So you don't need anything fancy. We've even used the Scholastic book stands at school because we can just put our device on them. Yeah, so Jennifer, the going back and forth is more of a phone thing, I think. Are you on a phone or on a tablet? It may just be how they've set it. So because your screen is smaller, they're trying to maximize all the tools. So you go into the camera and then you go back to view. I know it's one extra step, but I think they had the purpose of kind of maximizing it when you're on your device. What do you do when the dog looks over the whole set? You enjoy your adventures. And that's where onion skin can come in handy because you could come bring them back together. So yeah, Lisa, for schools, we've used the old Scholastic book stands you get when you do the book fairs. I've found book stands at Dollarama, but the ones I really like is IKEA has these plastic stands. They're only about $3. And one side will keep your iPad up straight and the other will lay it flat. So I get to use them when we're doing different events. So it was affordable, easy to clean. The Art of Fun. Let me see if I can get them. Afroza Hat, thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful meal with your family. Oh, thank you, Sharon. Christian Robinson is the name of the guy. You have IKEA ones. Awesome, Lisa. Okay, let's keep doing some more animation here. So I'm actually going to delete these guys. And we're going to just show you a couple other things. Keep bringing your questions. This is always what happens. I think we have so much time and then our time runs out. So a couple things we're going to just try to give a couple more tricks because I know you probably are going to want to keep making videos this week. It's funny that it's wash hands. That's awesome. It's funny that it's Children's Mental Health Week. So for me, this is actually a way that I find my calm and get to reset. I know some people can do the meditation apps. I'm not always good at them. So being active is, creating is really a way that I get to reset. So hopefully it works for some of you this week. Okay, so I want my card to come off. Again, I'm going to take my words off because my card is going to turn around and zoom off. Let's just keep them here. And again, that onion skin is handy. So I want it to look like he's come to another scene. And sometimes I want it to look like a road. So one trick, I'm going to see if we can do this here, is to use your background. And if you have a big background, like I have a map, you probably, again, would need a friend because my setup's not going to let me do it. But I could put my background, let's see if we can get this. There we go. I can put my background and make my background move and keep my car in the same spot. Let's put this up here. I'm going to try to do this. I don't think I can pull it off, but we're going to try. You probably don't want to see the ads on the side. So instead of making it seem like the car is moving, I'm going to animate him in here. Can you see him yet? Can you see him yet? There we go. So snap a picture, snap a picture, snap a picture. And then to make it look like it's moving, oh, it's stuck. No. Let me move my guy out of the way. So I can make the map move instead. So sometimes you have to think about different possible solutions for making your piece come to life. So moving the background, which didn't work, I needed a bigger map. I'm glad you like the PI map, Lisa. So moving the background mimics that it's moving even though my car can't move because I couldn't show it that big of a scene. The other option though, is that we don't always have to animate with our stand this way. So one thing I could do is I could have, and this is not gonna look pretty here. Okay, so I have my map. I could put my car on top and I could take my animation from above. Now, sometimes when I do those animations from above, it's kind of tricky to get the iPad to be still. So sometimes I'll put it up on, the iPad's a bit easier because there's more of the iPad to work with. So I'll put it up on a chair and just make sure the camera's looking down. When I did it with my phone, I actually had to use 2 meter sticks and put them across 2 stools. And then I put my phone in the middle on the meter sticks. So for that, I actually used something called remote control. So stop motion, and we'll see if we can pull this off here. Ooh. So stop motion, you can't see it. And it's gonna turn off if I take it off. So stop motion has this option called remote control, remote camera. So with the remote camera, it connects to my device and I can use the other device to take the pictures. So that means that nothing gets shaky, especially when I'm trying to do it with the meter sticks, because every time I touch it, there's a chance my iPhone's gonna fall down. And I love that it doesn't work right now. Oh, because it's not connected to Wi-Fi. Let's put that on. There we go. Maybe it will cooperate. Yes, protective cases, Michael, right now are very helpful. Definitely, definitely a necessity. All right, let's see if we can get the camera to work. You may just have to trust me that the remote piece works. But if you're creating really intricate creations, if things are fragile, and again, if you don't want your device to really move, the remote camera is really helpful. It's a really handy tip. All right, other questions? How are your animations coming? It's available on the iWatch, but it's also available just in the App Store. So let me see if I can find it here to show you. So again, it's free. You don't have to pay for Studio. So usually the first time I had to connect. But I'll show you what the app looks like if you're looking in it just is that little green one. So it looks exactly like Stop Motion Studio, it's just the green option there. Stop Motion Studio is an app that we were encouraging over the last few years. So it is an app that's on a lot of iPads in Peel, but I know we're from all over. So The fact that it's a free app is one of the reasons I went with it, because I know a lot of schools can't afford apps. And yeah, it's a great option there. I'm glad you're learning things. I was a little worried because I know a lot of people have animated and I'm by no means an expert. I really am enjoying the flat lay animation. So animating from above and taking pictures of things below. So I use letterboards or using the letter tiles. I'm going to try to do an animated mandala because I follow some really cool people on Instagram that do some really cool animations with spelling out words with different objects like your name with things that represent you. There's so many possibilities. Oh, I love that you're using your erasers. Erasers are a great option to bring into your animations. Okay. Yes, Janet, you can steal your husband's iWatch. Okay. Way better than Netflix? I'm glad. Okay, delete part of the video. So, so as we're going through, if you wanted to delete a part, again, I would usually come in here and delete the pictures, the individual frames, because it gives me more control. But we're going to show you how to export your video, and then I'll show you how I edited the ad in Imovie. But then I also want to show you in stop mo where the sound effects are. So I'm just going to switch so you guys can see the screen bigger. Okay, so when my video's finished, so here's the thing, stop mo does have this little record option. I find it a bit of a struggle just because my video is only 36 frames. And remember, my frames are set to 7. So that's really only 4 seconds. So most of the time, my words, what I'm saying is going to be too long for the animation. And I find it a little tricky to record in here. You can definitely record, but it's just going to record for your whole clip. So what I do is I export my movie and I do the sounds in another place. So when I go back to my main screen here with all of my videos, I'm going to choose select, which is hiding under the StreamYard symbol. I can choose the video I want, and we're going to use that share button. We see that a lot on our devices, and I can export the movie. Now it's going to have a lot of questions as you save the video. Sometimes it will ask you how big of a file you want. It really doesn't matter. They're all great. So now that my video is in my camera roll, I can go to Imovie. And in Imovie, I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to make a movie, and I'm going to bring my video in. And I like this better because now, as I record, I can actually see where it's going. So I'm going to record, and I'm going to wait till those let's go on. Ooh. Let's go. So now I'm going to accept. So now I have that audio, which you can't hear because my headphones are plugged in, that's connected. I like this too because in my audio, I don't know if you guys can see that there. Right above my clip, there's media right now. Beside it, I have audio, so I have sound effects. I wonder if there's a car sound effect in there. Do we think there's a car sound effect? Ooh, car skid. Okay, so where's the car skidding? Right there, maybe? So I can bring the car skid right in. So again, I like adding audio in here because I have different options. There's soundtracks. So I can bring in a soundtrack and add that in. So I can add those pieces. Any of your apps, any of your devices will have a movie making tool. So you can definitely bring it into your movie. And like we said, you can put your different scenes together. If you're lucky enough to get stop mo though, check out your extras and some of the other options. So I don't have any video. So let me just take a couple video pictures here so I can work. So if you're using stop mo, and this, again, it's one of the great pieces. I just realized the title's been on that whole time. Hide current comment. There we go. So on the bottom, I have an audio piece. So I can record a message, bring in music, or add silence. And on the side, I have sound effects. So I can bring in those sound effects as well. So if you're looking for an all-in-one stop shop, Stopmo is a great option. It's just only available on the iPad, so it's a bit of a bummer. So I wanted to make sure I showed you something that was on everything. So same thing, once we're finished, I'm gonna go back to films and I'm gonna look for that share button so I can save the video. Now, if you wanna share on Twitter or Instagram, Instagram's limited to 1 minute. Again, stop motion takes a lot of pictures, so it would be hard to get a really long clip, but my nephew's first one was 330 pictures for his Lego story. So it is possible. So you can definitely put it, Instagram's 1 minute, Twitter's 2 minutes. So it's really up to you where you want to host it. Some people host it on YouTube, but again, you could just send it in a message to a family member or send it in an email. Food cans, so cool. I've done one for the food bank I volunteer with sometimes. We did one for the bags, making the food come into the bags. Apple Clips is another great one. So if you do have an iPhone or iPad, Claire and I love Apple Clips. So it has speech bubbles and stickers, so you can really put in a lot of options. Yes, Christine, definitely. If you can put in a call for NFB Stopmo now that it's free, you'll have it later. So I'm just going to put the Google slide in one more time because I know our time is coming to an end and you probably have a couple more questions. So make sure you drop them in the comment box. But on this Google slide deck, a Google slide choice board, Mel and I were looking at different options. So we have 3 videos as inspirations, but then you also have 3 areas you could learn more. So there's one video that shows you how to make a flip book, which is really the principles of animation before we had the fancy apps. NFB has this great collection of videos. So they even show you if you really want to do claymation, where you make your characters out of clay. They'll teach you the basics of creating a good character that won't fall apart. And then there's Exploratorium as well. And there's 3 challenges in there. I know people, one of my favorites is when people animate themselves. So they actually they laid flat on the floor and they animated themselves with laundry. So the example on the choice grid is a little girl going swimming. And then I've seen another one where somebody goes skiing. He transformed his whole apartment. So there's so many possibilities. Can you rotate a video when you put it into iMovie, or should it be recording in a certain way in stop motion? So yeah, so iMovie, so if you're using a device, you can actually now, they updated it maybe 6 months ago, I want to say, that you can edit the video in Photos. So you could do that rotating if it's not the right way, and then bring it into iMovie. iMovie will let you rotate pictures, but not really video. So if you can remember to record it in the same way you're going to put it into iMovie, that's great. But if not, just use your photo editing so you can flip it around. All right, last few minutes before time's up tonight. So if you have any other questions, drop them into the comment box. So cool that you're going to try it out. Frames per second is definitely an overall setting. But Jennifer, again, you can do your different clips and bring them together later if you want to change some of that pacing. Yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out tonight. It's been a great time exploring. Thank you for our younger friends that jumped in. It was fun learning with all ages tonight. So again, we decide on Sunday what our Appy Hour will be on Wednesday, if people still want to do it, of course. But yeah, so NFB, my understanding is there's no subscription. It's a one-time cost. It's not a subscription app. So that's the cool thing with the NFB app. The videos on their website are all free, so you don't have to worry about that going paid. And really, Stop Motion Studio definitely is a great option still, especially if you're doing bring your own device or in times like right now where we don't know what people have at home. And Stop Motion is one of those things, if you learn the basics with either of those apps, you can kind of move over to the other one. The principles are always the same. Thanks again, everybody, for hanging out on a Wednesday night. I think this is the first time we actually made it in time. If you have suggestions, I know people have talked about Google Forms. I know people have talked about Google Sites. We've also done breakouts with Google Forms, if anybody's interested in that. I know some people were looking at the rooms and transparent shapes on the rooms. I've never done that, but we could learn for an Appy hour. We also talked about sketchnoting if anybody's interested. So we'll put a poll out on Sunday, and then on Monday we'll release whatever it is the group decided. Choose your own adventure in slides. Okay, cool. Yeah, we could definitely do choose your own adventure in slides. Or do some of that in Google Forms too, where it leads different ways. Breakout. So we could do Google Forms and look at doing some of that. Yeah, I was gonna say getting a lot of requests for Breakout EDU. Breakout EDU with Google would, escape rooms with Google would be a way to do forms and sites in a different way. Yeah, forms is what we did at Janet McDougall. So we used a Google form to kind of do the breakout part. It'd be a cool way to engage kids right now with content that you want them to kind of explore. All right, so we'll make breakouts definitely one of the options. And it's definitely a hack. It's not the paid version, but